Bismillah, Sheikh.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء المرسلين وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Alhamdulillah, all praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has granted us this opportunity that we gather here through Zoom in the morning just for 15 minutes of reflection on Dua, Makarim, Akhlaq, and one tip on the month of Ramadan. So today we go to the next passage, a beautiful passage because actually this passage gives us the etiquette of dua, something which sometimes we overlook. And this is not only reciting a formal dua, even in our daily need as we need things. So you can see Imam is telling us that in the time of distress, in the time of needs and misery and grief, our focus should only be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should not be tempted to ask anybody else for the help. And it's beautiful. And if we do that, what will be the outcome? And this passage shows not only the etiquette of the dua, but it shows that this dua was not only recited by Imam as a dua. As some of the scholars believe that this dua was actually taught by Imam as instruction of the Shias that how to go about achieving the akhlaq. Right? So Imam says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Allahumma ij'alni asulu bika inda ad-darura wa as'aluka inda al-haja wa tadarru ilayka inda al-maskana. Oh Allah, make me, number one, lead to you in times of distress, right? Darura is a time of distress. For example, we say also, Amma yujibu muttarra idha da'a, the same word, no? Darra, no? So at the time of when I'm distressed, no? At that time, I should just leap towards you. I should lean towards you. Was'aluka inda al-haja. This, in fact, you don't even need to know Arabic because was'aluka, that means I ask. Hajat is needs at the time of hajat. So I should only ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the time of need. We should not turn to anybody else. وَتَضَرَّوْا إِلَيْكَ عِنْدَ الْمَسْكَنَةِ. And then I should plead to you in misery. This also shows, subhanAllah, Imam does not only telling us the etiquette of dua, but Imam is also telling us that the dignity of human being, our dignity, first of all, being human beings, and then being believers of Prophet and Ahlul Bayt, right? We should not bow to anybody else other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Imam says, وَلَا تَفْتِنِّي بِالْإِسْتِعَانَةِ. The translator has used the good word, tempt me not to. Here, tempt me not to, there is one thing which is understood here, that, oh Allah, let shaitan not me, don't let shaitan not me tempt to do that. Do not allow shaitan to tempt me towards this thing. So tempt me not to seek help from other than you when I'm distressed, you see. So exactly in the opposite, Imam says, وَلَا تَفْتِنِّي بِالْإِسْتِعَانَةِ بِغَيْرِكَ إِذَا تَرَرْتُ. When I'm distressed, then I should not seek any kind of help besides you. وَلَا بِالْخُدُوِ لِسُؤَالِ غَيْرِكَ. You see, you can say بِغَيْرِكَ غَيْرِكَ, without you. So again, at the same time, I should not humble myself in asking for someone else when I am poor, right? And then Imam says, وَلَا بِالْضَرِّ إِلَى مِنْ دُونِكَ. And again, إِذَا غِبْتُ, when I fear to plead with someone less than you when I fear. So you can see whether it is distress, whether it's misery in need, our attention should always be towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the dignity of a moment. Keep this in mind. And the etiquette of dua. Now, at the same time, of course, I know people may ask that what happens, for example, in our daily life, if we need a help. For example, you are a senior, you want your son to go and bring grocery for you, right? Or I always give this example that you are driving your car and suddenly as you're driving your car, you had a flat tire, right? You got a puncture. What would you do? You definitely need somebody's help. Either you would call CAA or you would, for example, just flex somebody that stop and help me out. So what do? I always give this example because this is something at that time, especially our ladies, when they are driving and when they get this kind of situation, they're really sort of confused what to do, right? They think, oh, in what situation we are? Okay, for example, if the spouse or son is nearby, they'll just call and they'll come. But for example, if the son is very far out of the country or court for example, he's no longer there, he's died, right? So what do? No, the first thing we should do is that whether you call CA, whether you call your friend, whether you call your son, whether you flex somebody to stop, right? What is important is that we pray to Allah, that, Ya Allah, I am in this situation. You make things easier for me. I'm going to call CAA, I'm going to call, for example, AAA, I'm going to call my son, I'm going to call a friend, I'm going to flag a car, right? You make it easier. That the person passing by, he or she should have a soft heart to stop and help me. You see, so our first attention should be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all the time, even for example, when a senior, for example, a senior person is going to call his grandchild, that better come and bring for me groceries, right? Yes, as you just start your phone in the name Bismillah ar-Rahman, Ya Allah, I'm going to call my grandson, I'm going to call my granddaughter, right? I hope that she is going to pick up the phone. I hope that she will make the time to come and help me out. So pray to Allah first. So you can see, and then Imam says that فَأَسْتَيْكَ بِذَلِكَ خِزْلَانَكَ وَمَنَعَكَ وَإَرَادَكَ. Subhanallah. If I were to abandon you, Ya Allah, if I were to be tempted to ask other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what will happen? In that case, I would deserve, number one, your abandonment, your withholding, and your turning away. You can imagine. So when Allah withholds His ni'mat from us, when Allah abandons somebody, when Allah turns away from us, you can imagine that is the worst situation. And we don't want, as believers, we don't want, of course, the whole idea. For example, we just said our prayers. I'm talking of Toronto. We just said our prayers and we are here, right? In the prayer, what we said, I'm saying 2 rakat, Fajr namaz, qurbatan ilallah, wajib qurbatan, to seek nearness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we don't want Allah to turn away from us. So you can see, this is why this passage is a clear indication that Imam is instructing the Shias how to do du'as. What is the best way? So keep this in mind, mu'mineen, that whenever we do du'as, whether it is a formal du'a when we sit on the musalla and formal du'a, or even in our daily time, teach also your children that when you pray to succeed in your exam, that keep in mind that always turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As you are writing the exam, at that time, why would you even, for example, once a person turns towards Allah, then he or she would not even think of, for example, copying somebody's answer or just trying to play mischief. Not, because we pray to Allah that, Ya Allah, give me ability that I work hard, and as I sit for my exam, I should be able to remember the answer. So it's a beautiful passage of what dua. Keep in mind, and this is something, and then Imam ends by saying, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, which comes often, right? Actually, Ya Arhamar Rahimin is ayat of Quran, Surah Al-Araf, ayat 151. So, the most merciful of the merciful. So you can imagine, subhanallah, Imam is ending by Ya Arhamar Rahimin, but just before that, he says that if I were to just abandon you, then I'm going to deserve your abandonment, your withholding, and your turning away, if I'm not going to turn to you. So although he ends with Ya Arhamar Rahimin, because that is what we end at the end of dua, but in between, Imam is telling us that if we try to turn to anyone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that will be the outcome. The best etiquette and recipe of supplication when we are distressed, in need, and feel misery. We must turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to none other than Him. Seeking our needs from other than Allah will result into being abandoned by Allah, deprived of His bounties, and finally turn away from His mercy. So as we said also earlier, right, only yesterday, as we were discussing all those qualities, 19 qualities of muttaqeen, so it was a tafsir of muttaqeen. Again, this passage, simply put, is a tafsir of Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. That when we say to Allah, when we make this pledge in Surah Al-Fatiha, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, to you we alone, we worship you alone, and we seek help from you alone. This is how it is, that in the time of distress, need, and grief, we'll always turn to Allah and will not be tempted to return to anyone else. And that is shaitanic. Shaitan will always make you to turn others. Keep in mind. Today, what we are discussing is not only limited to Ramadan. These recommendations are anytime during the year. But because somebody had asked this question, and this month of Ramadan, Somebody had asked a question the other day that what are the surahs recommended in different kind of namaz? Of course, after Surah Al-Fatiha, you can read any surah except for 4 surahs. There are 4 surahs in Quran, which is in which what Bismillah, in which there is wajib sajda, surah number 32, surah 41, 53, and 96. You can't recite these surahs in namaz because if you recite that surah, then you'll be required to go to sajda immediately and your tartib will break, right? Yes, because you can't go to sajda after qiyam. After qiyam, you go to ruku, then qiyam, and then go to sajda. So besides those 4 surahs, and besides Surah Al-Fatiha again, besides these 5 surahs, you can recite any surah in namaz, okay? But when it comes to surah number 93, 94 in Shira and Wadduha, you are supposed to recite as a group, no? Or 105 and 106. Surah Al-Fil and Surah Quraysh, they'll be combined. So keep this in mind. But besides that, you can recite any surah, but there are recommended surahs for every namaz. So after Fajr, after Surah Al-Fatiha, it is recommended to recite Surah Al-Qiyamah, sometimes Surah Al-Insan, sometimes Surah Al-Naba, sometimes Surah Al-Ghashiyah. So of course, these are not short surahs. Maybe we do not know. If you do not know by heart, the only thing I would recommend is we can start memorizing them. And the best, I always say, the best time of memorizing is month of Ramadan. Because when you memorize, you repeat again and again until you can memorize. So as you're repeating, for every ayat, you get the reward of completing the Quran. So this is after Surah in Fajr Salat, after Surah Al-Hamd, you can recite in the first rakat either Qiyamah, Al-Insan, Al-Naba, Al-Ghash. These are recommended. Of course, you can recite any surah. After Zuhr, in Zuhr namaz and Isha namaz, after Surah Al-Fatiha, in the first rakat, we recite Surah Al-A'la or Ash-Shams. This is in Zuhr and Isha namaz. In Asr namaz and Maghrib namaz, it is recommended to recite At-Takathur after Al-Fatiha or Al-Nasr. No? This is in Asr and Maghrib namaz. Thursday morning after Surah Al-Fajr namaz, you recite Al-Insan in the first rakat and Al-Ghashiyah in the second rakat. That means after Surah Al-Fatiha, it is recommended to recite Surah Al-Insan, Ad-Dahr, in the first rakat and Al-Ghashiyah in the second rakat. Thursday Maghribain, last night, for example, Maghribain, it is mustahab to recite Surah Al-Juma in the first rakat, and then you will say Surah Al-Ala in the first rakat of Isha. So in Maghrib namaz, we say Juma in the first rakat after the Fatiha. In namaz Isha on Thursday evening after Surah Al-Fatiha, it is recommended to recite Surah Al-Ala. Now these are, of course, recommendations as we said. Now, Friday. Now, for example, all of us are saying our Friday prayers at home in the afternoon, right? Nowadays, we don't go to masajid because of this isolation pandemic. We can no longer go to the centers. So even at home, when you recite your Zuhr namaz today, inshallah, I'm talking about those who are in Toronto. I know some of you have joined from UK and Africa, so your Juma is over. But those of us who are going to recite this afternoon, if you know Surah Juma by heart, recite Surah Juma after Surah Al-Hamd. You don't need to say Juma namaz, even when you say Zuhr namaz. And then in the second rakat, you can just recite what Surah Al-Munafiqun if you know. Otherwise, you can just recite Surah Al-Kullu Ahad. Keep in mind that if you recite Friday, if you say your namaz at home, although Zuhr namaz is Ikhfatiyah namaz, in which we say the surahs not with a raised voice, on Friday is an exception. On the day of Friday, you can say Zuhr namaz after Surah Al-Hamd. So not Surah, the Qiraat of Zuhr namaz, Surah Al-Hamd and other surah in the first rakat, Surah Al-Hamd and other surah in the second rakat. These can be said with the raised voice, the way we do in Maghrib and Isha. This is the exception only for Friday afternoon. So keep this in mind. So that completes our presentation for about today. Any questions, any clarifications?
Thanks, Sheikh. If you have a question, just remember to unmute yourself and feel free. In the meantime, there are some questions in the chat. First question is, Can we recite duas like Dua Mujir on behalf of our marhumin, or we have to recite them and give hadiyah to them?
Yeah, the best thing is, no, you can also recite on their behalf. The best thing is, of course, recite and say the sawab of this dua goes to so and so. No?
Okay. And then there's another question here. Can we recite nafila namaz, not qaza, but nafila on behalf of marhumin?
The best thing is, of course, nafila namaz is your own namaz, right? But the best thing if you want to do for marhumin is reciting namaz, or namaz hadiyah mayyat, or for parents namaz hadiyah walidain, right? These are recommended namaz, we can do that. But of course, when you recite nafila namaz, just recite and you can say to Allah that, Ya Allah, the reward also should go to my marhumin. And Allah is generous, inshallah, He will do that. No?
This is interesting. In regards to asking for help, is reciting Amma Yujibo not considered asking for help from others?
No, of course not, because Amma Yujibu, again, if you see the meaning of that, Amma Yujibu al-Muttarra idha da'a shifas. Who is he who responds to your call when you are in distress? So actually, it's ayat of Quran, this is the style of Quran. Quran sometimes asks question. Amma Yujibu, the alif of that first alif, man is who, and who is he? Amman, that alif is known as alif istifham, alif of asking question. So Allah is telling us that when you are in distress, whom do you call to remove your distress? Is it not Allah? So actually, we are actually asking Allah. We are not asking anybody. For example, if I ask you to recite when I'm sick, I'm not asking you about dua. I'm asking you that you pray to Allah for me.
Right. You mentioned that if you know Surah Juma by heart for the namaz and Friday, but does it mean that we shouldn't be using the Quran to recite if we don't know Surah Juma by heart?
Yeah, for wajib namaz, scholars advise us that only recite those surahs you know by heart. For mustahab namaz, you can read the Quran. For wajib namaz, a number of scholars have said that only, for example, somebody who doesn't know anything, for example, somebody is like a new Muslim and he or she needs the help. So in the beginning, they would open the Quran and read. But for all of us who are born Muslims or who have been Muslim for many years, it is recommended that we recite those surahs which we have memorized.
And another question here is that is the exception for both Zohar and Asr on Friday for the loud recitation, or is it just for Zohar?
Only for Zohar.
Only for Zohar.
Just for Zohar namaz, or or Friday namaz. No. If you do Friday namaz, then of course it's only for Zohar namaz.
There are any other questions anyone want to ask? Feel free. One of our listeners is just letting everyone know that his or her uncle has passed away a few hours ago, and asking everyone to remember him.
Inshallah, may Allah do his maghfirat. Inshallah, after these sessions, mu'mineen who are joining, we request you that recite Surah Al-Fatiha for this uncle and also for all marhumin. It is very important, as I said in one of the lectures, that when you do your nafila of Maghrib, the second rakat, it's good that you do nafila Maghrib, but you do namaz hadi mayyat. So in that way, you also do nafila Maghrib and also include all the marhumin who will be buried that day. So it's good that we do remember people who need our du'as. Just for all of you to know that now, from beginning today, this is also being relayed live on YouTube. So, for example, some of you would like to just watch this thing on YouTube. Also, if you go to YouTube and just go to Academy for Learning Islam, you'll find that these lectures, these presentations are being relayed live there. This we have done for the convenience of the seniors. Now, sometimes, for example, they don't have the problem to sit near the laptop or add all those ID number. So this is from today, inshallah, it is being relayed also on YouTube, inshallah. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that may Allah accept our efforts. Inshallah, join you tomorrow. Today night is 15th night of Ramadan, which is the wiladat of the second Imam. So, I would like to wish you Mubaraki, and tomorrow, inshallah, we'll discuss something about the second Imam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala.
Jazakallah. Thank you, Sheikh. See you all tomorrow, inshallah. Kushali Mubarak.